Hello and welcome to the Digital Edge. My name is Mr. Sam Otero, coming to you from the Digital Media Technology Studios at Jeff Tech in Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania. We are in the IT Academy with my co-host today, Jade Steele.
Hi.
And Patrick Shea and Meri Collins, who are with LifeSpan Family Services. And we're going to be talking very briefly and introducing the concept of digital media service learning. We do a lot of this here in our program. Most of the programs at Jeff Tech actually do engage in one way or another in service learning. For instance, right now, down in the gymnasium, we got a team down there filming for our news. So you're going to see a little bit here as the Health Assistant program works with the local Red Cross, right, to provide a blood drive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're going to go down and cover that here when we're...
You're like, oh, we're recording.
Yeah, we're recording. We're now live, Jade. Look into the camera and talk to the... All right?
Okay.
All right. So the point of service learning is what? Why do we do service learning, Jade?
Service learning is work that we do for the community outside of our shop, DuBois TV, Jeff Tech.
Those are examples of it.
Yes.
But what is it? What's the purpose of it? Anybody in the audience
give a
want
service?
to do what?
To give a service.
To provide a service to who?
The community.
Absolutely. The whole idea
Welcome.
here is to engage students in real-world learning working for a real-world client. We do this for not-for-profit organizations that are in one way or another servicing the community. The TV shows that we produce, the PSAs that we produce for DuBois TV is an example. We do all the marketing materials for Jeff Tech.
Yes.
And we received a phone call recently from Mr. Shea, who asked me if we had the capability of being able to do television commercials. I said, boy, do I! I said, Pat, you got to come on in and check this out. So Patrick Shea, Meri Collins, tell us a little bit about LifeSpan Community Services and Family Services, I should say, and how you think the kids in the Digital Media Technology program might be able to help get your message out to the community.
You want to go ahead, Meri?
Sure. Well, a little bit of background on LifeSpan. LifeSpan Family Services is a adoption and foster care agency. We are located in Punxsutawney. However, we have a satellite office in DuBois opening up November 1st. And it's a good way to, one, get the community to know the need of having foster parents, the need of having an abundance of foster parents, because there's a lot of children out there that need the service. So therefore, I think this is a good way to help kids understand that the need is out there, and being able to help an agency like us get quality foster parents to help these children.
And foster care is a really unique business in that foster parents are the backbone of the business. If you don't have foster parents, you don't have any business because you can't put the children anywhere.
Absolutely.
And there's been dissertations written on effective advertising to gain foster parents. And basically what the research has shown is that the #1 method to get a foster parent is face-to-face, hi, would you like to be a foster parent? So we're hoping that through the use of television, that'll kind of act as the face-to-face invitation to become a foster parent, to become aware of foster parenting. And one of the frustrating things that we've had, we've been in operation for almost 6 years, and we were in a very visible spot in the community, and we were shocked at how many people, despite a large sign on the front of the business, didn't even know we were there. And we're the only licensed by the state foster care and adoption agency in Jefferson County, and we're providing a unique service there, and we're getting lots of attention, but there's always a benefit by having more community awareness, and that's why we're here.
Well, we had talked originally on the phone about television commercials, which of course is something that we do here, and we can do a 30-second TV commercial, but there are limits to that. Jade, limitations to a regular television commercial: #1, got to spend a lot of money to get it out on local cable. Of course, we can run it locally on our education and community channel here in DuBois, but 30 seconds, not a lot of time, is it?
I mean, you can get some information, but you can't really get the full effect.
So the experience of digital media, production of digital media, web design, use of graphic design, use of online document sharing, use of technologies such as this, what might we be able to do for the group here beyond a 30-second television commercial? What do you see after talking with your clients?
Well, what kind of what we're doing right now? digital alerts episode after our commercials go out, like a follow-up.
Very good. What about some sort of ongoing educational campaign? Maybe public service announcements, 3, 4, 5-minute little bits where you come on and you talk a little bit about what it does it take to be a foster parent, or the special needs of some of the children that you're working with in the community. What about success stories, testimonials? Wouldn't that be powerful? We could do a show like this and actually bring in
A foster parent.
Absolutely.
I like the idea of it.
Well, I know for me this was something that was exciting to me because, number one, any chance that I can get to get my kids to work for real world businesses, that's what it's really all about. We want the kids to understand what it takes to explore, to investigate the needs of a client, to get to know the client, to craft the plan, right? What was it we were working on? I got the whole crew here in the background here, but what have we been working on for the past few weeks, guys? Our projects where you crafted a plan for yourself, you followed the production plan, and then you analyzed your plan, you gave a report on it, and you delivered your final product. This is exactly what we talk about. Every day I said to you, right, this is what you're going to do in the real world. Well, today is the beginning of it. So, Jade, we're going to illustrate here some of the fact-finding skills that we need to come up with. What kind of information do we need? Let's start out with television commercials.
Okay.
We were talking about, Patrick, the maybe running 3 different commercials for you to try to get inside our client's head a little bit. My first question would be, why 3 commercials? What were you thinking as your starting point, and why would you like to accomplish that? And then let's talk a little bit about the content of those commercials. Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, in 30 seconds, as we mentioned, you sure can't say much. So I like the idea of having...
Jade and I can, though.
Yeah.
Talk fast.
Yeah, we
yes.
can.
Well,
Do we have a competition on who can talk faster?
No.
I win.
Of course, then it only confuses people more if you talk too fast. But we can have a little bit of a twist in each commercial and maybe give out just a little bit of a different twist on the message. And of course, in 30 seconds, I guess our big focus is to get our name out there and our contact information so that the community can call with any questions.
So you're really talking branding. Branding,
Yes.
branding. You want people to know that when they drive by their building and they see the sign, they go, oh, wait, that was that commercial that I saw, right? So it's a top of mind awareness. Bring your name out into the community a little bit more. Excellent. Good goal. What about storytelling? Let's talk about content, Jade. What questions would you have to learn a little bit more about the goal of the content of each of these commercials? Go ahead.
How can someone sign up to be a foster parent? I mean, if someone wants to
Meri
be a
answer that.
foster parent.
It can be as simple as calling in and seeing if they would be eligible. There's not many things that make them ineligible, so they just have to ask the right questions to see if they can become a foster parent. They can stop in our office. It can be just a walk-in. We can mail them an application and brochure and information and look over the information. But it is basically starts with a simple phone call.
First thing, concepts. This is what we want to talk about. We're going to talk concepts. Concept 1, what does it take? I think that is a great starting point for one of the commercials, because I'm most certain, wouldn't you not agree, that there's probably a big misconception out there as to what it takes to really be a foster parent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There definitely is.
I mean, that's why, Jade, the first question popped to mind, right?
What does it take?
What does it take?
Picture whatever family your students have. Some people are raised by single parents, some are raised by grandparents, some have both their mom and dad living with them, some have a couple moms and dads or more. It's similar with foster parenting. We have single parents that are foster parents, we have couples that are foster parents, we have blended families that are foster parents. And one thing that I'm excited about is we have retirees that maybe their kids went off to college, they've got a big house with 2 or 3 bedrooms and no kids. And mom's frustrated because she doesn't have anybody to cook and clean for, and dad doesn't have anybody to toss a football with, and we'd be happy to have them as foster parents.
That is a great point. You're being charged to make a television commercial. What question do you have for these folks that might bring to light another concept that we could put together into a commercial? Anybody have any questions? Good.
What would be like requirements and stuff that you have to do to be able to become a foster parent?
Okay, great point. We talked about conceptually overcoming some of the misconceptions possibly. Now we're going to get into some specifics, right? You said there are some things that you
have to be eligible. Yeah.
that might disqualify somebody. But Oriana, would you agree that we want to keep our message positive? So we don't want to make a television commercial that says, well, if you're this, or have this in your background, you're disqualified, right? We want to focus on what? What do? Accentuate the positive. So now, very good point. Let's get to some of the specifics here. What does it take specifically?
You have to at least be 21 years of age. You must pass a health assessment, just saying that you are physically capable of caring for a child. Pass background clearances, child abuse, criminal clearances, and FBI clearances. And we do a brief financial background just to make sure that there's some financial stability prior to taking a child in. And those are the big main requirements. Otherwise, we develop foster parents as much as we can as well. So that's the main eligibility requirement.
That's a really good point. So there's support for and training for those that are going to be taking kids in placement.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that, Patrick?
We provide training, about 3 or 4 times as much training as the state requires us to provide. Online provider foster parent training that has some super good topics that you can choose from a library of like 200 topics. And foster kids, because they're leaving their home because of a problem, whether the parents have addiction and can't care for the children, or they're abusing them, or whatever it might be, there are foster parent classes that can address the specific needs of that child. And just imagine how scary it would be to be 10 years old and be taken out of your house and put into somebody else's and have to adjust to, wow, I'm not at home, I'm sleeping somewhere else. And boy, I don't like this lady's cooking, or whatever the adjustment might be. We help them overcome that. Fortunately, most of the time, the foster homes are a much better environment than what they had, so they view it as a positive change. I remember one little girl, I said, how do you like your foster home? And she said, I have sheets on my bed. All excited because she evidently didn't have sheets, so she really liked her new home. And others have said, we have 3 meals a day.
Well, now we're talking about foster programs, and define that for us. You kind of give us an illustration, but can you define that for us, what that means, and what is the scope of the commitment? Of course, it probably changes from situation to situation.
And it can change with child to child, too.
Too.
So there's 66 children and youth services agencies in Pennsylvania. They each have a defined set of rules as to when and why they can take a child. It's basically physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect. Children have medical needs, and if their parents aren't meeting them, they can be taken for that. And another thing that doesn't happen often, but in Pennsylvania, if you don't go to school, the Children and Youth Services oversee children that are habitually truant. And it's amazing how children come into foster care with 100 absences, but once they're in foster care, they suddenly wake up to go to school, and they have perfect attendance after they're placed in foster care. So those are really the 5 reasons that a child is taken. The effort is made to send that child home once the parents have corrected whatever problem there was. If they have a drug addiction and maybe it wasn't safe for them to be home because of that, once they feel that that's been resolved, it's okay. Parents may have to take anger management classes so they don't lose their cool with their kids. They may have to get a job. Some of these people are unemployed and aren't eligible for whatever assistance benefits there might be, so there may not be food in the home. And of course you have to feed your kids or you can lose them. And once that's resolved, sometimes homelessness is an issue. Somebody's living in an apartment, they don't pay the bill, they get evicted. Well, now they have whatever children out on the street living in the car. And that's happened in this area. So they'll often take the children until the parents can get back on their feet and provide a safe environment for the kids to go home to. If the parents aren't cooperative and don't do what they're asked to do, in Pennsylvania it usually takes about 1.5 years before they would terminate a parent's rights, and then those children can become eligible for adoption. but the first focus is to fix whatever's wrong and send the kid home. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Okay. I have some questions now that have popped into my mind after that description of your services and the process. Jade, anything coming to your mind for a client?
You're gonna forget it, so why don't you go first?
No. I want to see where you guys are at with this, because this is your job. This is what you're learning.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I'm actually slightly interested in the fact of if there's abuse going on in a house and there's either sexual, emotional, physical. How would a parent go about, and how do you get your kids back from that? Do you have to take anger management for that as well, or is there different ways?
That is an excellent point.
Oftentimes what
good
has
question.
happened is the parents weren't supervising the children as closely as they should.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a neighbor or an aunt or uncle that was coming to visit or caring for the child. And often when they first take a child, they don't know who was doing the abuse. So the first effort is to make the kids safe, and then the second effort is to find out who was the perpetrator. And in this area, we have a couple very good resources. There's a child advocacy center where they interview the child and talk to them at their level, and they use anatomically correct dolls and things, and they work with the kids to find out who may have been abusing them. If they can find out that it was somebody that wasn't in the home, they often can work to exclude that person, and it's safe for the kids to go back home. Now, they may have to go over with the parents about how you want to really keep an eye on your kids and not just let them run the neighborhood and end up meeting somebody that wants to harm them.
Well, how is that meant? That's a great point. Now, there might be another concept for a commercial. There is, we're talking a lot about offering up your home, offering your time, offering your love and your heart to a child that needs that stability. Maybe even a concept where we're looking at talking about this whole process from the standpoint of a child and showing there, right? What does it take? But what about the parent who is having their child taken from them? I mean, I think maybe a lot of people are sitting here thinking that you guys are all about taking a kid and putting them up. No, you're about healing families and trying to bring them back together, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The point that Jade made. Is there a criteria? What does a parent have to do
When they lose custody of their children, and Children and Youth Services would be the ones taking custody. We're just responsible for the placement.
I understand.
They each have a family permanency plan, and it's a step-by-step basic direction, a map on how to get their children back. So that will be individual and tailored to each family, depending on what the problem was that they came to.
That's a great point. So kids, when you're thinking about this, think in terms of the imagery of a television commercial and this concept here of reconciliation and healing and bringing families back together. What a great thing to sell your services and to sell your agency, I think.
One of the things that we offer is supervised visits. If a parent has been accused of abusing the child, they're still entitled to visits, but they have to be supervised, so they can't continue doing whatever
Sure.
they may. And keep in mind, when the kids are taken, the parents haven't necessarily been convicted of anything or even arrested. There's just a suspicion based on things the child has said or things the teachers at school may have seen or the daycare provider or whatever. And an allegation's made, and they have to sort through who did what and when. So often that's not even known up front. So we offer supervised visits where there's a safe environment for the kids to come to one of our offices and be watched from a distance, maybe through a glass mirror like you have over here. And the idea is to keep the kids safe, but still have contact with their family. And the funny thing is, no matter how badly abused a child is, they still want their parents. They still want to be involved with their parents. And it's very important for them to have some contact. Now, if they end up finding out that one of the parents did abuse the child, depending on the severity of it, they may not get their child back and shouldn't.
Now, at that point, this brings up See if anybody else in the audience clued into this.
I think I have.
We have foster services, and then there was another word that he brought up. Starts with A. What did he say? Adoption. So now we're talking about, we're moving from the realm of a temporary service to a permanent placement.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
You're talking about how with parents have the right to visitation. What about the kids? What about once they're taken from their home? I mean, I can only imagine what that does to a child. Is there, like, do you guys offer counseling and help with the children as well?
Yes, we link them up with referral services that are in the area for counseling, depending on if it was trauma-related abuse. And trauma, every foster care placement, there's some level of trauma. But yes, we link them up with resources within our community, so they can deal with what they're going through.
And we help them attend those counseling sessions or whatever they might be.
Now, the big word that we said.
Adoption.
Right? Is anybody familiar with that? Yes?
We adopted my sister.
You adopted your sister. Anybody else have, yes, Tasha.
My grandma was a foster parent for a few years, and she lives right beside me, and she ended up adopting my aunt, which she would be my aunt.
Wow. Anybody else have a dealing with adoption?
My mom used to be a foster parent before I was born.
Damien?
One of my little brothers and sisters were adopted.
So you have your brother and your sister. Excellent. And actually, I'm adopted. My sister and I were both adopted from a Catholic orphanage up in Erie, Pennsylvania. I was adopted at the age of 1 month old.
Wow.
And this past year, actually, I took the summer and made an attempt to find my my original parents. Didn't really get very far with that, but yeah, it's far more common than what you might think. So, I mean, for me, I was rather excited when you called, because this is something that really hit home, and I know, I know personally how important. I think about this all the time. I think, my goodness, how different might my life have been had I been placed with a different family, or where
there are special
or
laws.
ended up being raised in an orphanage and not having a home.
There's so many different types of adoption services.
There are.
Like with my sister, we're working on adopting her from her mother, as her dad is married to my mom. We're working on adopting her. My mom is.
Right.
So that's not the same situation, but.
Right.
Well, we have up on the website here the different services. Why use private adoption services? What sort of adoption services are available? You guys want to go ahead and get into that a little bit?
Well, basically, if a child is taken by Children and Youth Services, once they become available for adoption, there's a very strong effort made to find a family member or somebody that's familiar to that child, so they're not just being thrown to a stranger. Sometimes it's the foster parent that might be their new, they call it kin or kinship care.
Sure.
Maybe they've had the child for a year or two, and maybe they're the most obvious person. But sometimes there's an aunt and uncle that's very interested and has been very involved in the life of the child, or a grandparent, or sometimes even a neighbor that watched the child every day and they had a very close relationship, and maybe they'll link them up with that person because of the relationship. Private adoptions, and we've done several of these, you may have a woman that's pregnant that for whatever reason doesn't want to keep the baby. Maybe she's not working, maybe she has substance issues, maybe
that was my situation. I had my mother, I found out, was a teenager from New York. She was 16 years old, and back in 1968, the Catholic Church, and they were like, so they
I was going to mention,
giving up to the nuns, and
just the way you said that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know, in your time frame when you were adopted, they used to almost forcibly take the child from the mother and forbid any future contact. But there's been
that was my reference. I didn't want to offend Catholics out there, but it was they were very there was a lot of, at that time, there were social issues, and you're not going to embarrass our family situation, and they would whisk them away to an orphanage. I'm not saying that's what happened, but there were those pressures back then.
Well,
sure.
Because of that, and because of the testimony of people like yourself, Pennsylvania has made some recent changes in the last few years where there's a stronger effort to link people with their biological families after they've been adopted.
Mm-hmm.
We're now required for the first time ever to maintain records permanently for adoptions. And we even have to have a plan that if we decided to close up our business, what are you going to do with those records?
Mm-hmm.
And we had to define who we're going to send them to if we were to close up our shop, so that people that have been adopted in the past however many years can have an easier time trying to link up with their parents. And again, a lot of them in the 60s, 50s, and 40s, the mothers almost had no choice.
Yeah.
Their
Well,
parents,
especially as a minor, if they were very young.
their parents would send them out of town as soon as they knew they were pregnant, and they would give birth to the child out of the area, and then they'd come back home. Where have you been for the last 9 months?
Mhm.
Oh, I went away to school,
Right,
or whatever.
right.
And they had this elaborate story that they would help them give out to keep the pregnancy and the birth a secret.
Well, I think it's wonderful, the services you folks are providing. I'm looking forward to learning more.
I'm looking forward to working with you.
I'm looking forward to all of my kids working with you. And now, you guys, this is a real-world business, a real-world agency, providing a service to the community. You are going to provide a service to them. Any ideas or thoughts? And you all are working on an anti-bullying campaign right now. You've scripted videos. Any thoughts on what we can do and ideas for television commercials based on some of these conceptual areas that we talked about? Anything coming from the group?
You could do,
Cody?
You could probably do the one for where.
Hey, Cody, come on up here. I know, come on up here. Why don't you just come on over here between the two of us here?
Hi.
Okay, and speak up. You can kneel down. There you go. All right, you were saying?
Hi, Cody.
What you could probably do is actually do the point of view where the parents are rather than just the children's view, or do both at the same time to show that things can be pretty bad depending about even on each side.
Mhm.
You may just not realize it just for children.
So sometimes when you're immersed in that family drama and tension, you don't realize how bad it is. So you're saying illustrate that and show both sides of the story.
Yeah, because most of the time people only think of the children. They
Mhm.
never really think of how the parents feel at the time.
Hmm.
So I thought that'd actually be a good idea to do.
That's a great point. And then we
like
can
it.
move to what we talked about, the services that you offer to bring reconciliation. And sometimes reconciliation isn't possible, and an agency like yours is there to help.
And you know, while we were talking, one thing that came to mind with
Good
me
point, Cody.
is a lot of times people are having kids that really aren't prepared for it. Maybe they really don't even want the child. You
It
know,
happens too often now.
we need to help people realize that there are resources. If you really don't want your children, there's an army of people out there that can't have their own and would love to adopt.
Oh, absolutely.
Even, you know, everybody has a preference for babies, but even an 8, 10, 12-year-old child could be loved in another home if you really don't want the child. And instead of all this terrible stigma that we give to people that would give up their children, somehow we need to educate them that, hey, you're better off to give them to somebody that will love them and spend some time with them than stay in your house where maybe you're not able to provide a loving environment for whatever reason. It
Right.
could be their health, it could be addiction issues,
Economics.
economics.
There's- absolutely.
Um,
A lot of different factors, and I think Cody's concept is a great idea.
Yes.
You know.
I had an idea.
Yes, Jade.
So we've been talking all about TV commercials.
And not to interrupt, but we're running short on time, so we're gonna have to wrap this up in about a minute or two. Okay, so
Okay.
make it quick.
I was thinking instead of I showed them the audio booth, and I thought, why don't we try and do something with radio, a voiceover, just kind of
Podcast.
yeah.
Kind of a did you know kind of moment where you.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Offered as a public service announcement. Great point. Any other thoughts or yes, Tasha.
Tasha.
Come on up here.
On the radio.
She wants to stay off camera. Go ahead.
On the radio.
Well, here you can stay off camera, but come on up so we can hear you. At least on the desk here. Go ahead, Tasha Riggy.
If you do it on the radio or for one of the commercials, you could just like do about them and what they provide
Mhm.
and like number to call and stuff.
Mhm.
Just like informational.
And where are you going to gather that information?
From
right?
them.
Over there.
Peripheral materials. So first thing you want to ask when you're meeting with your client, once you get to know your client and you got some ideas for concepts, now you're going to go and you're going to think about this. You're going to research how are some other agencies that are similar to these folks, how are they promoting? And maybe you get some ideas. Search YouTube, see what other commercials have been done, what other podcasts have been done, and then you're looking for particulars, right? So here we have peripheral materials, advertising materials. This would be, what do we call this, kids? Trifold brochure, right? Made in a program such as InDesign, exactly, and Photoshop, exactly. We also have as another resource, what would another resource be? You see it up on the big screen?
Websites.
Their website, absolutely. So, of course, we have everything that we need. Great point. We're gathering our information. Is there anything else that you guys think that we need to start building this campaign? Any ideas or thoughts? Anybody?
No.
We do need to wrap it up. So,
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead. Patrick, tell people real quick how they can get hold of you. I have your website up here, but they may not be able to see the domain name.
LifeSpan Family Services. Our offices are at 203 Lane Avenue in Punxsutawney. We're also opening an office as of November 1st at the Du Bois Mall. And our headquarters phone number is 814-938-4408. You're welcome to call us or send us an email with any questions you might have.
Excellent. We'll put that up on the screen, and there that is right there. Thank you so much, Patrick Shea and Meri Collins. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. Jade, thank you. Cody, thank you so much for your inspirational ideas. Kids, thanks so much for paying attention. You are watching another episode of The Digital Edge. Today we're talking about community service learning and putting our students to work for the benefit of their community while they're brushing up and learning their digital media production skills, talking with folks from LifeSpan Family Services. And we have up on our big screen here, if you are interested in the digital media technology program at Jeff Tech, visit us online at dmtstudio.net. We are accepting students for next year, 2014 and 2015. And as we were just discussing earlier, Patrick, there's our producer, Lexi Douglas, with her career research project last year, by the way. And Lexi, thank you. Great job getting everything set up today. But we are now accepting adult students full-time, and we are going to begin with the new year doing some adult evening courses as well. So for the Digital Edge, everybody here in the Digital Media Technology program, in the IT Academy, I should say, at where?
Jeff Tech in Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania.
I'm Sam Matero.
And I'm Jade Steele.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time around on the Digital Edge. Looking for a great career in high technology? Whether you want to start your own business or go on to college, the Digital Media Technology program at Jeff Tech offers the most advanced training and studio available in our region. Learn audio and video production, live web streaming, 3D animation, and special effects. Graphic and web design using pro software, Photoshop, Fireworks, Dreamweaver, and After Effects, InDesign, Premiere, Wirecast, and much more. Full-time and part-time enrollment options are available for high school students and even adults in our area.
These situations that I've seen here at Jeff Tech are purely hitting the college level. I mean, you know, there are people who are waiting 4 years out of high school to go into 4 years of college to do the same things that the students here are doing right now. And so, needless to say, if you want the jump start, this is the place to be.
Explore the Digital Media Technology program in the IT Academy at Jeff Tech. A whole new world of opportunity awaits you. Visit us online, dmtstudio.net.